Welcome to the Bravura Security Demo Series featuring Bravura Safe. This video will illustrate the features and benefits of the Bravura Safe Directory Connector command line interface. Team owners and administrators require the ability to add many company, division, location, or department users to Bravura Safe teams at one time. Utilize existing directories and identity providers from a headless environment for the most up-to-date information. Save time and reduce maintenance costs by securely automating employee onboarding and offboarding into Bravura Safe teams. Ensure that new users are promptly adhering to corporate security policies. And ensure that any changes made in directories are promptly and accurately reflected in Bravura Safe. Using Bravura Safe Directory Connector, team owners and administrators can access an easy-to-use Linux-centric solution that can be hosted on any network with access to your identity provider directories. Quickly configure a directory connector to list specified users from cloud-hosted or on-premise directories. Leverage Bravura Safe's REST API to automate sending of invitations and to make any team or group membership changes. Get the right sets of users into the right teams and groups with the right access to shared items. And get users of all types using Bravura Safe right away to secure their credentials and sensitive information. The Directory Connector supports synchronization from the sources listed here. A sync can be run on demand or automatically at a configured interval. A desktop application and a command line interface are available for the Directory Connector. They share the same database and configurations, so you can use either one. Simultaneous use is not recommended. For this video, we'll focus on the command line interface, or CLI. The Directory Connector application can be installed as an agent on the server that hosts your directory, on an administrator's workstation, or on any other desktop device that can access the source directory. The Directory Connector CLI is appropriate for work in environments where a desktop GUI is unavailable, or if you want to programmatically script directory sync operations using tools provided by the operating system, for example, cron jobs and scheduled tasks. The Directory Connector is currently available for the Linux operating system. Download and extract the application using the link shown here. This link is provided in the video description below and also in product documentation. Then, copy the bsafedc file from your extracted folder to your user local bin directory or another directory in your path. Ensure the file has appropriate execute permissions. And add the permission if required. Looks like I'm good here. Verify the application works in your terminal by running bsafedc with a help option. As you can see, Directory Connector is working, and the help option has returned usage and a list of options, commands, and examples. Now that you have downloaded the Directory Connector CLI, copied it to a directory in your path, and verified that bsafedc works, you can connect it to your Bravura Safe server. The config command is used to specify Directory Connector settings. First, you need to specify the Bravura Safe server URL using the config command with the server setting and URL value. Once the server setting has been saved, use the login command to log Directory Connector into your Bravura Safe team using your team API key. This can be collected from your Bravura Safe team settings. By clicking View API Key, entering your master password, and then clicking View API Key. Both the client ID and client secret credentials are required to log in to a team account. I have masked the client secret here to keep it secure. You can use the login command by itself, which will prompt you for the client ID and client secret, or with these parameters included, as I'm doing here. Using saved environment variables is also an option that, once set up, would only require use of the login command alone. Refer to product documentation for more information. I've successfully logged into the team account. Next, Specify the type of directory you want to connect to. With the 0, I'm specifying Active Directory. The directory type setting has been saved. Then, input an administrator user's password from your directory. The administrator account's username will be defined later on. I am inputting the LDAP administrator's password for the specified Active Directory system. The directory connector uses the administrator user to connect to the directory server. The password is safely stored in the operating system's native credential manager. Now the directory connection and sync options need to be configured by going to the Directory Connector config directory and editing the data.json configuration file. I'll enable Insert Mode and go to the top of the file. Here you can see the base value under Environment URLs. This is the Bravura Safe server URL that I specified earlier. And here is the installed version of Directory Connector CLI. Here is the client ID credential for the team account I'm logged into. And the associated client secret credential has been stored securely. Down in the Directory Configurations section, since I specified an AD directory type, I will focus on the LDAP portion. I need to add some options here. First, I'll enter the IP address as the host name for my directory server. Then, on another line, the root path at which Directory Connector should start all queries, followed by the distinguished name of the administrative user that the Directory Connector will use when connecting to the directory server. This is the administrator account's username, for which we provided a password earlier. For Active Directory, the user should be a member of the built-in administrator group. Here is the password option, showing it is stored securely. The Directory Connector has now been configured for our chosen directory. Sync options are configured next. I'll scroll down to the directorySettings section. Here, replace the null value with the organization ID of your Bravura Safe team. The organization ID is the client ID without the leading word organization followed by a period, simply the ID itself. For this demonstration, I'll be syncing both groups and users, so I'll set sync for users and groups to true. Now users will be synchronized and groups will be synchronized. Next, change the group path value to identify the organizational unit for the directory groups and users that you want synced to Bravura Safe. In this case, my group path OU is demo. And then do the same for the user path. Here I'm using employees from my demo directory. Let's take a look at some additional sync settings. Set the Remove Disabled Sync setting to True to remove users from the Bravura Safe team that have been disabled in your directory system. Set Overwrite Existing to True to fully overwrite the user set on each sync, including removing users from your team when they're absent from the directory user set. Take note that if for any reason an empty sync is run when this option is enabled, Directory Connector will remove all users from Bravura Safe. Yikes! Always run a test sync prior to syncing after enabling this option. Regardless of the directory type you are syncing from, set the Large Import Sync setting to True if you are expecting more than 2,000 users or groups to be synced. You can use a variety of sync settings and filters to customize your sync operation and limit the users and/or groups that are processed to your team. Available sync options and filter syntaxes differ for each directory server type. Refer to product documentation for details. In order to limit the number of groups and users added to Bravura Safe from my demo directory for this demonstration, I'm going to add 2 filters to the sync settings. I'll add a new line here. To filter for specific groups, add a group filter. For example, a new HR Managers group has been added to AD, and I want to sync only that group and its memberships with Bravura Safe. So I'm adding a filter here to tell the directory connector to create the HR Managers group in my Bravura Safe Human Resources team and synchronize memberships for existing HR team users and any new users being added to the team via the userFilter option during the sync. To filter for specific users, add a userFilter. For example, I'm aware that new employees have been added to the HR department in AD. So I'm adding a filter to have the directory connector only add users to the Bravura Safe Human Resources team that have a department account attribute set to HR. Once all configurations, sync options, and filters are complete in the data.json configuration file, disable insert mode, and then save and exit the data.json file. If you've run a sync before, after configuring settings, you may want to clear the local sync cache to prevent potential conflicts with prior sync operations. More about this command shortly. Now you can test whether Directory Connector will successfully connect to your directory and return the desired users and groups with the test command. The pretty option will make results easier to read. If successful, groups and users will be listed according to the specified sync options and filters. Here we can see the filtered group and users are being successfully returned. If the results match your expectations, which they do in this case, you're ready to start syncing. This can be done manually or automatically. Before running the sync command, let's take a look at Bravura Safe and the Human Resources team. You can see that I currently have only one user in the team and only 2 groups. Now I'll run a manual sync with the settings I've configured in the data.json file to add the filtered HR Managers group from AD, apply its memberships, and add any users that are part of the HR department in AD to the Bravura Safe Human Resources team using the sync command. You can see here that syncing is complete, along with the total groups and users that were synced, 1 group and 4 users, based on the specified filters. Synced groups and memberships will be immediately available in your Bravura Safe team. Newly added users will receive an email invitation to your team. They will be subject to the familiar Bravura Safe 3-step process for new members: invite, accept, and confirm. Looking at Bravura Safe again and clicking the People option, we can confirm that the 4 users filtered from the HR department in Active Directory have been invited to the Human Resources team. Looking at groups in the team, we can confirm that the filtered HR Managers group has been added from Active Directory. If we review the users in the group, we can see that Gary has been selected for membership in the Bravura Safe HR Managers group, as he is already a member of the same group in Active Directory. I'll close this for now, and we'll take a look at a new user email invitation. This is Bonnie's email inbox. She is one of the recently invited users from the sync operation with AD. Here is the invitation to join the Human Resources team. Once she accepts and is confirmed by Fred, the team owner, she will have access to the team safe and any shared items and collections. This will be the same for the other 3 invited users. If I now open Active Directory and make a change, such as adding Bonnie to the HR Managers group, I can now perform another test sync, this time using the last option, which will show me only changes since the last sync. Here you can see that only the filtered HR Managers group will be synced, since the filtered users haven't changed. They have already been added to the Bravura Safe team. I'll run the sync again, and then take another look at Bravura Safe and the users in the HR Managers group. You can see that Bonnie is now selected as a member of the group, along with Gary. Her membership that I added in AD has been synced with Bravura Safe. Next we'll cover automatic sync. Automatic syncs can be scheduled for teams. which is particularly useful in headless environments, or in circumstances where a desktop application cannot be left running in the background. To schedule syncs, use cron in Unix-like environments like Linux and Mac OS, and use Task Scheduler in Windows environments. Refer to product documentation for detailed information. There are additional useful commands available for the Directory Connector CLI. The last sync command returns a timestamp for the last sync operation that was performed for users or groups. You need to specify either users or groups as an object to run the command against. Here you can see the date and timestamp for the last sync of users. You can do the same for groups, which will produce a similar result. As you saw previously, the Directory Connector CLI is self-documented with the help content and examples for every command. You can use the Global Help option to list all available commands and options, or use the Help option after any specific command, for example, config, to learn more about usage and options for that command. The data file command returns an absolute path to the data.json configuration file. The location of this file depends on the platform in use, Windows, Mac OS, or Linux. A bit more about the clear cache command. While syncing your team, the Directory Connector keeps a local cache, which allows it to compare and only sync the differences. If you receive errors or a change has not been synced as expected, clear this cache. This will trigger a full sync at the next sync operation. By default, the Directory Connector CLI and desktop applications both use a secure method for persisting sensitive data. For example, your directory account password and API keys. Secrets are always stored encoded based on the AES 256 CBC algorithm and a machine key ID. The secrets are tied to a specific machine only and stored in the bravurasafe.json file, located in the same folder as the data.json file. This concludes our demonstration of the Directory Connector command line interface using Bravura Safe. Thanks for tuning in. Bravura Security offers a range of demonstration and training options. Click the links in the description below to download the Directory Connector, watch more demo videos, or to register for training. Visit our website to learn more.